UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. A Saudi Arabian Airlines plane was temporarily isolated after landing at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport late this afternoon following a false hijack alarm. The airport's general manager Edmond Monreal says the Saudi crew made a mistake and unintentionally pushed the alarm button twice. All 410 passengers who traveled from the Saudi city of Jeddah to Manila was seen disembarking from Flight 872 after their safety was secured. Earlier, a pilot on board had advised the airport's control tower that the plane was under threat. Department of Transportation Undersecretary for Aviation Roberto Lim says police are still monitoring as to why a hijacked signal was issued by the pilot, adding that persons will be interviewed. Monreal adds that the plane would be checked thoroughly as a security precaution. The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service is currently conducting a lifestyle check on more than 80 other policemen implicated in illegal drug transactions. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
PNP Internal Affairs Service Deputy Inspector General Police Chief Superintendent Leo Angelo says they are now investigating the extent of involvement of 83 other policemen involved in illegal drug activities nationwide. They are among the police personnel mentioned by policemen who earlier surrendered. It can be recalled that President Rodrigo Duterte has recently named 96 law enforcers involved in illegal drugs activities. Among them, 76 surrendered.
There are some other elements of the validation. After that, I plan to recommend to the Chief PNP that these policemen who were named will be assigned also to police holding and admin unit so that we can interview them and we can continue our interrogation so to get more information out of them.
Duterte adds that the 83 other policemen are now under lifestyle check.
Itong 83 ngayon, we have directed na i-check na yung mga kanyang lifestyle, di ba? Kung saan sila nakatira, saan nag-aaral yung mga anak nila, ano yung sasakyan nila.
The lifestyle check would help authorities come up with appropriate charges to be filed against the implicated policemen. Lea Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines says that the processing of surrendering drug personalities is within the jurisdiction of the Philippine National Police. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines are serious in helping the Duterte administration in its anti-illegal drugs campaign. Last Saturday, the Commander-in-Chief turned over to the AFP the narco list containing the names of different local government officials and police that were involved in illegal drugs. AFP spokesman Brigadier General Restituto Padilla says even if they have the narco list, they can only receive those who want to surrender, but the PNP is the one that can process.
Amin po silang i-receive at isasalin sa kabilang ahensya na escortan pa namin para makasigurado sila ay safe. Pero ang pag-process po sa kanila ay hindi po sa amin, sa kanila po.
General Padilla says part of their duty is to protect the country against the proliferation of illegal drugs aside from protecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Ang ating talagang primary duty ay secure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our republic at protektahan ang ating mga kababayan. So ang role natin dito ay primary supporting role lang po sa PNP upang mapatupad nila ang kanilang mandatong tugisin ang mga kriminal at mga involved sa droga.
Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
President Rodrigo Duterte maintains that he did not issue any illegal order to the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines in line with his anti-drug and anti-criminality campaign. During his visit to the 10th Infantry Division in Compostela Valley today, the president asserts that he cannot maneuver a country with weak armed troops, so he is continuously cleansing their ranks. The commander-in-chief also stressed that he is preparing the country's security forces against threats of terrorism, equipping them with skills in profiling terrorists, bomb detection, and proper handling of acts of terrorism. In other news, the Supreme Court has affirmed the previous decision of the Senate Electoral Tribunal that Senator Grace Poe is indeed a natural-born Filipino citizen. Joanano tells us why.
Wherefore, the petition for certiorari is dismissed. Private respondent Mary Grace Poe Manzares is a natural-born Filipino citizen qualified to hold office as Senator of the Republic.
This is the decision of the Supreme Court denying the petition for certiorari filed by Rizalito David on Senator Grace Poe's citizenship. The magistrates voted 9-3 affirming the decision of the Senate Electoral Tribunal that Senator Poe is indeed a natural-born citizen. Thus, she is qualified to hold a government office. The petition was first filed at the SET seeking to disqualify Poe as senator over the issue of questionable citizenship and residency. David argued that under the Constitution, a founding such as Poe cannot be considered as a natural-born citizen. The SET dismissed David's appeal and the case was brought to the Supreme Court. With this development, David's camp says they respect the court's decision but plans for future actions regarding the issue. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Supreme Court.
Passenger jeepney groups are requesting for government funding to cope with the implementation of the Clean Air Act. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Jeepney associations are asking the corresponding government agencies to assist them with the modernization of their fleet. This is primarily for the acquisition of brand new engines for their units. Efren De Luna of Actos said they spend around 350,000 in assembling second-hand jeepneys, but brand new units may cost them about 1 million pesos. The group also suggests that surplus engines should not be allowed to enter the country, for these are already rejected in the country of origin.
Gumawa sana ang DNR at saka ang DOTC ng parte ng kumuha ng mga bagong makina na nanggagaling sa ibang bansa at yun ay ipautang sa amin.
Ang target talaga dito that ultimately the driver will own the jeepney. Will own yung sakyan nila. And that will be on a boundary hollow scheme.
The DNR will also cease the operation of private emission testing centers who are allowing non-appearance schemes or the issuance of certificate of emission compliance without even testing the vehicles.
Hindi pwedeng non-appearance and yung corrupt PETCs will close them down.
Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Education has presented briefly at the Senate hearing their proposed changes on the school curriculum, putting in more detailed accounts of the martial law history. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Bam Aquino is not satisfied with the way martial law history is being taught in schools nowadays. During the hearing of the Senate Committee on Education, Arts and Culture, which he heads, Senator Aquino pointed out the missing details in the books. He said only the good accounts of the Marcos regime were placed in the textbooks while omitting stories of torture and deaths during that time.
We have laws already talking about the atrocities of martial law. Bakit tayo natatakot ba tayo o nahihiya na pag-usapan yung masasamang bagay sa ating kasaysayan? Palagay ko, kailangan nating harapin yan para we won't repeat the mistakes of the past.
As a self-confessed victim of human rights violations during the martial law, Department of Education Secretary Leonor Briones admitted inaccuracies in the history lessons taught to students. To answer this, she said the department has already initiated the changes in the curriculum, in textbooks, and even the way teachers educate pupils.
Hindi lamang ang textbook ang magiging source ng learning ng kabataan. Mayroon ding mga supplementary readings, mayroon ding activities sa school, halimbawa mga events, may play, may mga activities sa school na ma-emphasize ang period ng martial law.
The secretary said the new curriculum will focus on human rights while giving special emphasis to the martial law. Under the new curriculum, the concept of human rights will be introduced as early as 2nd grade. The topic will be integrated to other subjects other than the Aralin Panlipunan across all levels until high school. The changes in the curriculum are expected to be implemented next year. Senator Aquino lauds the effort of the DepEd. He says proper education will give students a better foundation and understanding of our history.
Palagay ko kung yung foundation ng kanilang kaalaman nandyan, mas madali nilang suriin kung ano yung nakikita nila online. Kung meron silang foundation of what is right, what is wrong, ano yung nangyari, ano yung hindi nangyari, pag dumating na yan online, mas may kakayahan sila na suriin kung ano pa talaga yung nangyari at hindi.
Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Motorists in many areas in Metro Manila are experiencing moderate to heavy flow of vehicles, especially on EDSA. The flow of vehicles is moderate on both lanes of EDSA Taft Avenue. But as you enter Guadalupe, expect heavy traffic on the lane going to Shaw Boulevard. This is also true on the lane going to EDSA Ayala. There's a traffic buildup on the southbound lane of Cubao-Nepa Q-Mart, while the flow of vehicles is light on the opposite lane. Meanwhile, the flow of vehicles is moderate to heavy on both lanes of Baywalk, Manila. These are the roads from Pedro Hill going to Calao and Calao going to Quirino. In Blumentritt, España, the flow of vehicles is moderate on the lane going to UST as well as on the lane going to Pasay Rotonda.
Next in Y News. Witnesses before the congressional inquiry today claim that some government officials amassed billions of pesos from illegal drugs trade inside the new Bilibid prisons.
Senator Laila de Lima asserts that the witness testimonies presented against her today during the House inquiry are all perjured and fabricated. And passenger jeepney groups request for funding from the government to cope with the program under the Clean Air Act.
Y News will be right back. Witnesses claim before a congressional inquiry today that illegal drugs trade inside the new Bilibid prisons brings millions of pesos not only to drug lords but to some government officials as well. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The lower house today starts its inquiry into the alleged proliferation of illegal drugs and illegal drugs trade inside the new Bilibid prison. The House Committee on Justice aims to determine the extent of drug problem inside the National Penitentiary to aid them in crafting legislative measures. About 30 witnesses and resource persons were listed by the Department of Justice for the inquiry, but only 4 were presented today. Before they were presented, the witnesses were given immunity by the House leadership to assure that nothing in their testimony can be used against them. The witnesses claim that then Justice Secretary Laila de Lima received millions of money from drug lords in Bilibid. Former police officer Rodolfo Magleo testifies that he is a confidant of Commando Gang leader J.B. Sebastian, who Magleo claims has ties with the former secretary. Magleo also claims that the so-called Bilibid 19 or high-profile inmates were transferred to NBI detention cell on Sebastian's request in exchange of 10 million pesos paid to De Lima. He adds that during De Lima's time as Justice Secretary, Bilibid is known as the drug trade center of the country and Little Las Vegas due to abundance of drugs, gambling, prostitution, and other contrabands. Another convicted criminal, Herbert Colango, testifies that he was giving monthly payola to De Lima for allowing him to smuggle contrabands inside the prison.
Ikukulikta ko po ang aking sa area po sa mga big time, tag 100,000, 200,000, may 500,000. So, pag umabot ng 3 milyon, buwan-buwan po yun po ang PR, ang tatawag sa amin yun ay PR payola po. Para lahat ng gusto namin mga kontrabando ipapasok. Ay siyempre po may paspas po tayo sa Department of Justice and Secretary de Lima po.
He also claims that De Lima's aide, Jonel Sanchez, approached him to make him sell drugs to fund her senatorial campaign. He says he personally talked with the former secretary about it, fearing that he will be transferred to the NBI cell.
Sabi ko, bulong ko na, ma'am, yung instruction ni Dayan kay Junel po, payag na po ko doon, wag lang ko itapon. Ang sagot po niya po sa akin, got it, sabi ko. Pagtayo ko po, Your Honor, 1 step, 2 step, nandito na po ko, at lumingon po siya. Herbert, ma'am, sabi ko, kasi palit na ko eh. Sabi na, Herbert, temporary ka lang muna doon na.
Another witness, NBI agent Jovencio Ablan Jr., narrates that he was asked by then Bucor OIC NBI Deputy Director Rafael Ragos to accompany him in delivering millions of pesos, a claim that Ragos confirmed, saying De Lima herself received the money.
Nagsalita siya, sabi niya, Nyor, confidential ito, tayong dalawa lang nakakaalam. May dadalhin tayong kota kay Lola, 5 milyon yan.
Meanwhile, Senator De Lima denied the accusations, saying the evidence against her are fabricated.
Sa puntong ito, gusto kong iparating ang aking pagpapatawag sa lahat ng tumatayo at tatayong witness laban sa akin dyan sa House hearing na yan. Alam ko na kayo ay napilitan at napuwersa lamang para idawit ako sa kung anumang anomalya sa bilibid, gamit ang panggigipit, blackmail, or marahil pati torture. Ang hindi ko mapapatawad ay ang mga nasa likod nitong pag-iimbento ng mga ebidensya laban sa akin. May araw din po kayo.
The House Committee will resume their inquiry tomorrow, with DOJ presenting more of their witnesses. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The House Justice Committee mulls sending summons to former Justice Undersecretary Francisco Baraan III, former Bucor Chief Franklin Bucayo, Ronnie Dayan, and Jonel Sanchez, who are former aides of Senator Laila de Lima. At the House investigation today, the witnesses tagged them in illegal activities inside the New Bilibid prisons, with Herbert Colango claiming that he used to give Bucayo 1.2 million pesos monthly payola. Dayan allegedly used to receive drug money for De Lima, while Sanchez acted as her emissary. Some lawmakers have expressed concern over the granting of immunity to the 6 witnesses who testified at the House hearing earlier. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
6 witnesses, some of them high-profile inmates, testified earlier at the House Committee on Justice hearing in connection with the alleged illegal drug trade at the New Bilibid prisons, or NBP. The witnesses narrated how the illegal drug trade prospered inside the NBP with the help of former Justice Secretary and now Senator Laila de Lima and other former government officials. The House Committee on Justice recommended to grant immunity to the witnesses, which was immediately approved by the Speaker of the House. The witness granted with immunity are former Bucor OIC Rafael Ragos, his escort driver Jovencio Ablan, inmates Herbert Colango, Noel Martinez, Jaime Pacho, and former Police Major Rodolfo Magleo. But some lawmakers have expressed concern over the decision of the Congress. Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate says the testimonies of the witnesses have to be scrutinized first and that the government should not easily believe their statements. Albay Representative Edsel Lagman, meanwhile, noted that the committee that recommended the immunity must explain the recommendation.
If they are not telling the truth, then they can be charged for perjury or false testimony.
The lawmaker also questioned the direct examination of the witnesses conducted during the hearing by DOJ Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. Legman says allowing him to do so violate House rules.
If Secretary Aguirre is acting as counsel or lawyer of this affiance or witnesses, under the rules of the House and under tradition, the lawyer cannot direct questions to the witness. He should pass the questions through the committee or the chairman of the committee.
House Committee Justice Chairman Reynaldo Umali has previously stated that the investigation is only for lawmaking purposes, but Lagman, a known member of the Lima's political party, believes otherwise. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Senator Laila de Lima claims that the witness testimonies presented against her today in the House inquiry are all perjured and fabricated. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Laila de Lima was emotional when she delivered her privileged speech at the Senate a day after the legislative body unseated her as the chair of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights. In her speech, she accused her enemies of forcing out witnesses from the inmates, convicted drug lords, DOJ and NBI officials by placing them under overnight interrogation sessions where they were allegedly psychologically tortured.
Alam ko na kayo ay napilitan at napuwersa lamang para idawit ako sa kung anumang anomalya sa bilibid gamit ang panggigipit, blackmail, o marahil pati torture. Ang hindi ko mapapatawad ay ang mga nasa likod nitong pag-iimbento ng mga ebidensya laban sa akin. May araw din po kayo.
She urges the Commission on Human Rights to check on this information. Meanwhile, the senator lambasted Senator Alan Peter Cayetano a couple of times in her speech, pointing to him as the one protecting the interests of President Rodrigo Duterte. She also maintains that it is the rampant extrajudicial killings and summary executions that caused the bad image of the country and not the investigation of her committee as highlighted by Senator Cayetano. De Lima also denies that she did not check the credibility of the witnesses presented in the hearing, particularly Edgar Matubato, the self-confessed hitman who allegedly worked with the Davao Death Squad. The senator goes on further by naming the 23 alleged members of the squad and challenged them to go out in the open and tell the truth about the hundreds of deaths they perpetrated. Senator De Lima maintains all efforts to discredit her will not stop her from pushing for the protection of human rights and dignity and the right to due process.
Congratulations to Senator Alan Peter Cayetano for his triumphant victory yesterday and for making me realize that a committee chairmanship is not the end of everything for me as a senator. No committee chairmanship is worth it if it means sacrificing my principles and surrendering the causes that I pledged my life to fight for.
She says all abuse of power will come to an end and what remains will be justice and truth. Meanwhile, Majority Floor Leader Senator Tito Soto maintains that the decision to reorganize the committee and unseat De Lima as chair will be good for the Senate as a whole.
So for the Senate to be independent, hindi pwedeng subservient kami, pero hindi rin kami pwedeng adversarial. Kung hindi, masama para sa bansa kung ang Senado adversarial sa administrasyon. Masama din kung subservient. So we have to remain independent.
Senator Franklin Diron, on the other hand, spoke in behalf of the other senators from the Liberal Party who voted against the motion yesterday. Drilon says although they are part of the majority bloc of the Senate, they were not consulted by the other members. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Malacañan has no legal actions yet against those behind the Oust Duterte Movement. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The Malacañan does not take for granted any information it receives concerning destabilization plots against the Duterte's administration. However, the government has no plans yet of carrying out legal actions against these people. For now, the Malacañan is doing validation and vetting process against personalities who are planning to oust President Rodrigo Duterte from his post.
We are looking into it seriously. We are investigating it.
hanggang dun lang muna tayo. We know that these plans are being hatched.
The palace warned those who are behind the destabilization plot against the president. The Presidential Communication Office received intelligence reports recently on a number of influential Filipino-American businessmen and leaders in the U.S. who are planning to replace the current president on or before January 1, 2017.
Meron kaming mga pangalan, we know who they are, we are studying it. The warning is just be careful in what you plan. Whoever is planning an ouster or a coup d'etat, just be careful with what you do. And just make sure that whatever you do is within the bounds of the Constitution.
The Malacañan has given limited information as to what could be the motive behind the destabilization plot, how it will be done, and who are behind it. Nevertheless, members of the cabinet are confident that the Oust Duterte movement will not prosper because of the unrelenting support that President Duterte is gaining from the public. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañan.
A research group calls on the government to be wary of the offer of the World Bank to help the Department of Finance or DOF in implementing its proposed tax reform program. Ibon Foundation states that the World Bank is known for pushing for regressive tax schemes, that the group says only lower taxes on the wealthy while hiking taxes to the poor. The group says the Department of Finance in fact already falls in line with the World Bank's regressive tax schemes, further noting that it could become worse should the government accept the World Bank's offer. Part of the DOF's tax reform plan is lowering of the income and corporate taxes while increasing the excise tax on oil products and the value-added tax on some products to offset the foregone revenues. Ibon Foundation urges the government to focus on more aggressive tax collection of the wealthy and corporations to help fund socioeconomic services for ordinary Filipinos. The Philippine Blood Center and over 1,000 Tanawan, Batangas residents expressed gratitude to UNTV and Members Church of God International or MCGI. June Soriao tells us why.
The president of Lions Club in Tanawan City has sought help from UNTV to conduct a medical mission activity in their city. That is why UNTV, in cooperation with Members Church of God International or MCGI, reached out to over 1,000 residents to render free medical services such as dental, optical, ECG, free haircut, and legal consultation to name a few. Over 500 patients brought home free medicines with them. The beneficiaries of the medical mission expressed their sincere thanks to the groups.
Kuya Daniel at sa Brother Eli, ito po ay isang matagumpay at sana po ay wag kayong magsawa na tumulong. Kaysa po ninyo ang Tanawan City Lions Club na lagi pong ninyong ginagabayan.
Maraming salamat po talaga sa tulong nilang ito, sa medical nilang to. Salamat po.
Our fellow men in Tanawan, Batangas hope that UNTV will visit their place to once again conduct another medical mission activity. Meanwhile, the Philippine Blood Center supplies 300 bags of blood every day in Manila only. For this reason, the organizations who voluntarily conduct mass blood donations are a big help.
So kailangan po araw-araw din po kami magkaroon ng bloodletting para po ma-sustain yung ganong demand ng mga tao sa Maynila lang. Hindi pa po sa ating mga karatig lalawigan dito sa Luzon.
The Members Church of God International is a partner of Philippine Blood Center in conducting regular bloodletting activities. Every 3 months, the Blood Center receives almost 100 bags of blood every bloodletting activities in the compound of the Andating Daan Convention Center in Apalit, Pampanga alone. These do not include yet the hundreds of blood bags from MCGI local chapters in different parts of the country. Conducting bloodletting activities is part of the group's advocacy led by Brother Eli Soriano and Kuya Daniel Razon to help those in need.
Ay lubos po ang pasasalamat sa aming mga partner agencies, mga kaakibat na mga ahensya kagaya po ng dito sa ating ang dating daan.
Yun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Coming up, the United Nations adopts a global declaration to address migrants and refugee crisis.
The Philippine Embassy in Singapore confirms that there is still no record of Filipinos infected with the Zika virus in the country.
And designed student invents a way to make empty spaces in cargo ships useful as they return from deliveries.
More from Y News after this break. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA says the southwest monsoon still affects the western section of Luzon. Based on PAGASA's forecast, Luzon and Visayas will experience cloudy skies with light to moderate rains. Isolated rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail over Mindanao. A low pressure area was spotted in the Pacific Ocean, but it's still outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Based on PAGASA's outlook, it may become a tropical cyclone by weekend and may enter PAR by Sunday. And if that happens, the cyclone will be named Helen as the 8th to enter PAR in 2016. Search operations continue for survivors after a tourist boat capsized in Ayutthaya, Thailand. Kat Dumaraos will tell us why.
An overcrowded tourist boat carrying Muslim pilgrims was being piloted recklessly before it capsized. The incident killed 15 Thai people. Divers and other rescuers searched for 11 people still missing. The accident happened on Sunday on the Chao Phraya River in Ayutthaya, a UNESCO World Heritage Site located north of the Thai capital of Bangkok. The double-decker tourist boat carrying around 100 Thai Muslims on a pilgrimage tried to overtake a sand barge and ran into a barrier, causing the accident. No foreigners were believed to be among the dead.
คิดว่ายังมีอยู่ครับตอนนี้ยังไม่เลิกค้นหานะครับเพราะว่ายังบางศพยังไม่ลอยขึ้นมานะครับยังทำการสำรวจหรือหาศพอยู่ตลอดเวลาครับตอนนี้
The boat was 50 passengers over its capacity at the time of the accident, said the police. The boat's driver will be charged with reckless driving causing loss of life and overloading the boat beyond its safety limit. The driver was detained on Sunday night and was being questioned by police.
Road and boat accidents involving tourists are common in Thailand, where safety standards are well below international norms. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Bangkok, Thailand.
The 193-member United Nations General Assembly adopted a political declaration on Monday, September 19. The Assembly also agreed to spend the next 2 years negotiating global compacts on refugees and safe, orderly, and regular migration. Current record shows that there are 21.3 million refugees worldwide. United Nations Deputy Secretary General John Eliason says everyone should participate to address the root causes of the problem and make sure that no one is left behind.
You have saved the lives of migrants at sea. You have treated migrants humanely. You have extended protection to refugees. Yes. All this is to be commended. However, we know that no one state can deal with these transnational issues by acting alone. We must work together more than ever before.
France holds a ceremony for victims of terrorist attacks. Meanwhile, Indonesian authorities deny that Saturday's tourist boat explosion in Bali was a bomb attack. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
In Indonesia, an Indonesian investigator on Monday, September 19, said a deadly explosion on board a tourist-packed speedboat in Indonesia last week was caused by a gas leak coming from a corroded pipe.
Our explosive limit sampai ke upper explosive limit ini dalam range sesuai dengan teori itu antara 1,4% sampai 7,6%. Ya, itu bisa melebihi.
An Italian and an Australian tourist were killed in the explosion on the Lombok-bound boat on September 15, shortly after it left Bali. Indonesian police have denied reports of a bomb attack. Several injured tourists are currently being treated in hospital in Bali. Bali and neighboring Lombok are two of Indonesia's most popular holiday destinations. In China, 5 died and 5 others sustained injuries after a gas explosion ripped through a residential building in the city of Wuxi in China's Jiangsu province on Monday. The explosion happened at a 2-story building, causing building collapse and trapping residents inside. Local police and firefighting and health departments started search and rescue operation on the ruins of the building immediately. The injured victims were rushed to the hospital. Preliminary investigation shows a liquefied gas leak caused the explosion. And in France, a ceremony in memory of the victims of the terrorist attacks in the past year was held in a military monument in Paris on Monday. Thousands of survivors, victims' families, officials and politicians attended the ceremony, alongside French President François Hollande. A series of attacks hit France in the last year, as 130 people were gunned down at the Bataclan Concert Hall in Paris, and a truck attack on pedestrians left 86 dead in the southern city of Nice. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Department of Health confirms procuring 8,000 additional testing kits for Zika case detection. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
There are 6 new confirmed Zika cases in the country which were locally acquired. The Department of Health confirms this, clarifying reports that the 6 cases have no history of travel. 4 are from Iloilo, 1 from Cebu, and another from Laguna. A total of 9 cases are now listed in the Philippines, which includes the case of the 45-year-old woman in Iloilo and 2 from her household. In line with this, DOH sent quick response teams to areas which have confirmed Zika cases. Although there are additional cases of Zika in the country, DOH insists that this should not be the cause of panic.
Inaasahan pa ng Department of Health sapagkat nagpadala kami ng quick response teams na maaaring madagdagan pa ang bilang ng kaso. Sa ngayon po, ang assessment namin ay wala pang active transmission sa mga lugar na nabanggit at ito ay magandang senyales.
DOH constantly reminds the public to help in the prevention of the transmission of Zika virus. The public should maintain a clean environment to destroy mosquitoes, especially in places where they dwell. The DOH hotline is open 24/7 for questions and reports of suspected Zika cases. DOH also reminds pregnant women to immediately seek for doctor's help and have a test when symptoms like skin rash appear. And as a way of intensifying their drive against Zika virus, the DOH, with the help of the World Health Organization, procures additional 8,000 testing kits to immediately test the blood and urine sample of the Zika virus carrier.
We are supporting RITM and the Department of Health in procurement of testing kits, but the procurement is done by the department, and there are sufficient procurement mechanisms, and I understand funding as well available.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Department of Health.
The Philippine Embassy in Singapore confirms that there is still no record of Filipinos infected with the Zika virus in the country. Kathy Navarro will tell us why.
Singapore's National Environmental Agency reported 14 new cases of locally transmitted Zika virus over the weekend. These new cases bring the total number of confirmed cases to 369 since its first detection in August 27. Thus, the Philippine Embassy in Singapore has again reminded Filipinos to take necessary precautions against the virus by maintaining cleanliness of surroundings. According to Consul General Vic Dimagiba Jr., they began to receive emails from Filipinos who come to Singapore on travels to ensure that the embassy knows where they are.
As of now, the Ministry of Health is coordinating with the embassy, and we have not received any reports from the MOH as well as the NAIA on Filipinos residing here in Singapore.
According to MOH, 80% of the infected patients do not have symptoms. Most of them were mild, and many of them recovered within 1 or 2 days.
In February, WHO announced a global state of emergency concerning the Zika virus, predicting as many as 4 million cases by year-end. It has commended Singapore as a global role model in how the city-state has managed the situation. Kathy Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue, Singapore.
U.S. health officials on Monday urged pregnant women to consider postponing non-essential travel to Miami due to the spread of the Zika virus, even as they lifted a travel warning for the neighborhood of Wynwood. Earlier in the day, Florida's governor declared the neighborhood of Wynwood Zika-free and invited visitors to return. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a travel warning dated August 19 for nearby Miami Beach. The CDC's Wynwood travel warning is the first time that the agency told travelers to stay away from a neighborhood in any city in the United States.
A design student has invented a way to make empty spaces in cargo ships useful as a return from deliveries. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
About 90% of the world's goods are carried by sea, with more than 70% in shipping containers, carrying everything from Asia to the rest of the world. But the global imbalance in trade means most of these containers are empty on the return journey. Thus, design student Philip Holfeld from London's Royal College of Arts has devised a way to utilize them empty spaces with Grow Frame, a collapsible hydroponic farm that could grow vegetables inside the empty containers during the week-long sea voyage.
Half of all containers going to China are empty. That means that right now 13 million containers annually are traveling around with just air. And when I heard about that, I thought, no, that's not a problem, that's an opportunity.
Each plant is grown in small individual plastic bags containing all the water and nutrients needed to feed the plant during the trip. The mini farms would cultivate vegetables using battery-powered LED lights that can be adjusted to provide precisely the right spectrum of light for optimal growth. These energy-efficient lights and the battery would hold enough power for the duration of the voyage. To keep the climate inside each container as natural as possible, Holfeld said he's planning to grow mushroom alongside leafy vegetables to help balance the mini ecosystem.
I'm growing cabbages, spinaches, lettuces, and bean sprouts. All these plants create oxygen, as we know, and it's really good in nature because it balances with animals.
Holfeld is now looking for funding to help turn the concept into a reality. He believes that the potential profitability of the reusable system would quickly recoup the initial costs. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue.
Cheering fans await cyclist Nairo Quintana at home while China's basketball star player is back in the NBA. Aaron Romero tells us why.
Colombian cyclist Nairo Quintana returns home surrounded by roaring fans cheering for his victory at the Vuelta a España. Quintana, who finished second to British cyclist Chris Froome in the 2016 Tour de France, exacted a measure of revenge for that defeat by narrowly beating Froome in the Vuelta.
Mil gracias nuevamente por haber venido, por haberme acompañado, por darme fuerza. Me he emocionado mucho el día de hoy. Esperamos que el próximo año también venga lleno de éxitos, tanto para ustedes como para mí. Muchas gracias.
Quintana's Vuelta win was also the first by a Colombian since 1987, when Lucho Herrera claimed the victory. Meanwhile, Chinese basketball star player Yi Jianlian signs to the Los Angeles Lakers after an outstanding performance at the Olympics with the Chinese national team. 28-year-old Yi, who was drafted in 2007 by the Milwaukee Bucks, says he feels the pressure to be playing for such a celebrated NBA team, but stresses that he would use this to his advantage.
压力当然有了，因为我们都知道这个球队的意义，那么也知道这个球队所有的球迷对我们球队的期待。当然，我们也是背着这些压力来去想办法整回动力，希望能够赢得这个比赛，能够答谢这些球迷。
He previously also played with the New Jersey Nets, the Washington Wizards, and the Dallas Mavericks. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
12 countries converged in Germany over the weekend. Nina Armilio tells us why.
12
different countries launched from Gladbeck, Germany, as the 60th Gordon Bennett balloon race, the aviation's oldest and most prestigious hot air balloon race, kicks off. 48 pilots flew 24 balloons. 3 teams came from Switzerland, the USA, Germany, France, and Belgium, while Poland and the UK started with 2 teams. The Netherlands, Lithuania, Spain, Austria, and Australia all compete with 1 team. The format of the Gordon Bennett balloon race has changed little since it began 110 years ago in 1906. This year, the pilots head south from Germany towards France, Spain, and Mediterranean. Poor weather over the Alps means pilots will have to use the wind to track west of the mountains, possibly heading out over the Mediterranean to the islands of Sardinia and Sicily. The winners land in Crete or mainland Greece, a straight-line distance of almost 2,000 kilometers. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, September 20, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.